Sikkim. So the Sikha wanted to know about why Rashi has to explain that lo yadaiti yoim moisi, because he didn't know if it'd be 5 years before Sarah, 5 years after Sarah, and then he was Kuf Chav Beis, and that was Sarah going to Kuf Chav Gimel. Sarah passed away Kuf Chav Zayin. Also, why does he have to bring down Reb Shimon Karcha says, and why is the whole arichas? What's bothering over here, Rashi? So the Rebbe explains like this: that Avraham Avinu got a bracha for arichas yamim, and so did from Hashem, and so did Yitzchak. And he didn't get his brachas for Avraham because Avraham was scared about giving him a bracha because of Esav. Since he got a bracha from Hashem concerning arichas yamim, so if he was going to get arichas yamim, so therefore there was no reason really for him to worry and be concerned about how old he was going to pass away. But if he was not worried about that, so why did he say lo yadati yom moisi? So for that, Rashi has to say, but it doesn't help because you're now 5 years before your mother, and therefore you have to be worried about it. But the Rebbe says there is, in actuality, Yitzchak lived 180 years, much more than that. So Rashi has to explain that it's either the mother or the father, but still the problem comes along that if a person was going to live more than what's supposed to be natural according to the Derech HaTeva, so it really comes out that the number of years that Yitzchak lived was not anything special, because he really reached the 5 years after his father's age. So where was the bracha of Hashem? What about Hashem's bracha for arichas yamim? There was no bracha. He lived what he was supposed to live. And also about Yitzchak being worried about passing away 5 years before his mother, but where then does he have the bracha of the Eibishter, which means to live more than the natural thing? So the Rebbe explains as follows. We have to go back and see that the years that Avram and Sarah lived were also not natural. So Yitzchak couldn't count his years from when Avram and Sarah actually passed away, because the reason they lived as long as they lived was because of the bracha of the Eibishter. When were Avram and Sarah really, was their natural lifespan? It says Avram and Sarah's kenim ba'im bayamim. Ba'im bayamim means they came to their fullest amount of days. So already at 100 years old, Avram Avinu was already the amount of life that he was supposed to live. And Sarah at 90 years old was already the amount of life that he was supposed to live. So therefore, Yitzchak living extra, whether he was what he actually lived to 180 years, so it comes out that really he lived 75 years extra, just like Avraham Avinu lived 75 years extra, because we have Avraham Avinu was supposed to live 100. He lived up to 175. So the same thing, Yitzchak's normal lifespan, if it would be going by Avraham Avinu, would have been 105. He lived to 180, so it was an extra 75 years of Arichas Yamim because of the bracha of the Eibishter. And the same thing, that what he was worried about was also Sarah lived 37 years more than what her span of 90 of Baba Yamim. And the same thing, he would have lived 37 years longer than what his mother's age should have been, from 85 instead of 90, till 123, 122 is 37 years. So now the Rebbe goes on and says, why the whole reason that Avraham Avinu had this, that he passed away at 175, not at 180, was because Hashem didn't want him to see Esav. So he passed away 5 years earlier. So really, according to this whole calculation we made, so Yitzchak should have lived at least another 5 years. He should have been 185 when he passed away. For that reason, we bring in Rabbi Shimon Karcha. Rabbi Shimon Karcha says that the reason for Arichas Yamim is because of not looking at the face of an Adam Rasha, and therefore someone that does look in the face of Adam Rasha, it doesn't make a difference if he knew or didn't know. It's still Mekatzer Yamav, and because of that, he lived 5 years less. And then the Rebbe brings an amazing Hira from our Parsha. Yitzchak was worried about the smallest, least amount possibility for the bracha. He was worried 5 years before Sarah's passing. Not 5 years after Sarah's passing, not 5 years before Avram's passing, or 5 years. He worried about the least amount, because Yitzchak was Midas HaGevurah. But even though Yitzchak was Midas HaGevurah, he was Midas HaGevurah for himself. When it comes to giving someone else a bracha, he gave him the greatest type of bracha possible. When it comes to another person, I could be gvuradik, and I could be in a way of tzimtzum, and I could be machmir. But when it comes to another person, I have to give and give with the greatest brachas possible, because Yitzchak's brachas were even greater than the brachas that was given by Yaakov Avinu and by Moshe Rabbeinu. And since every Yid inherits from Yitzchak, so you can also have the capability to give in such a type of way, even if his nature is to be in the way of gvura.